Hi folks, Lou here, and I'm going to ask whether different ways that Star Trek and Star Wars present themselves, different ways of doing things can illuminate games. And I'm not sure, but let's see where we go. Star Trek has the trappings of realism. Star Wars, on the other hand, is a fantasy with powerful mages, also known as Jedi, casting spells, the Jedi powers, with magic swords, lightsabers, and a galaxy-wide war of good and evil going on. Star Trek emphasizes optimism and good guyism, or at least it did until some of the recent programs, as I understand it. I don't watch them. Star Wars reveals a lot of ugliness, but heroism. And so it focuses, I guess you'd say, on heroism. Now, I guess games could do the same kinds of things, couldn't they? And you could ask, among other things I have in my notes, which relies more on perception? Because perception is very important in games these days. Many people worry more about the graphics in a video game than about the gameplay. Many people worry more about what a tabletop game looks like than how it plays. To me, that's very, very strange, but I grew up when we had black and white TVs and 2 or 3 networks and no internet and so on and so forth. So what I'm used to is different from what people are used to who grow up today. I guess you'd say that Star Wars, because it's so far from a sensible reality and has plot holes you could drive a truck through all the time and foolish behavior, that relies more on a perception than Star Trek does. Star Trek is more real. And you can make games that way as well. You can write novels that way. Any kind of fiction or fiction related thing, you can be more real or you can be less real and rely more on perception, I guess you'd say. Now, I like Star Trek. I like Star Wars. I've watched some of the Star Wars movies many times. Unfortunately, when Star Trek was originally on, it was on Friday nights, and I played basketball on Friday nights, so I didn't see a lot of it in the original run compared to many people who watched it every week. And of course, again, that back then, you had to watch it when it was on. You didn't have a way to watch it later. So it's very, very different from today when you can go online and watch Star Trek pretty much whenever you want if you have the right providers. And of course, nowadays, things like Star Wars are free if you get Disney Plus, which I do. So it's quite a bit of a different situation. And I choose not to watch regular programs nowadays almost exclusively. I taught myself when I was 13 not to watch network series, and I've stuck to that ever since. Why? Because they took up a lot of time and because they're not very good generally. But if there is a good one, like say Elementary was, then I'll watch it on DVDs long after the fact, or the same with Vikings, for example. Although that's pretty strange sometimes, it is quite gripping. So, have I really illuminated games much? I don't know. It illuminates a difference between kinds of games, but I'm not sure it says much about game design other than you can be on the more realistic side or you can be on the pure fantasy side, even if you don't call it a fantasy, because of course many people would call Star Wars science fiction, but it's not. It's fantasy, really. Thanks for listening.